Alright, here's a quick video going over how to graph a quadratic function. So our function is, for example, let's say f of x equals negative 2x squared plus 28x and minus 96. Now the first thing we want to do is get the x-intercepts. So we want to know, we'll skip the version, but I don't want to do it right now. Let's create an xy plane. Nice big plane. And let's see if we can get some graph paper maybe. Yeah, it's a little too big. How about something like that? Looks good. And try to center it on the grid so that it does what we need to do. So the first thing we need to do is figure out where does the graph or the function cross the x-axis. And in order to do that, we have to set the y to 0. So f of x is also equal to y. So we're going to set that equal to 0. And probably the best way to solve this, there's usually two major ways. The quadratic formula will always work, but because these numbers look so nice, we probably could just factor it and then set each factor to 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is pull out a negative 2. So if I factor out a negative 2, I get x squared. I'm going to pull a negative 2 out of this, and it becomes minus 14x. And if I pull a negative 2 out of negative 96, I get positive 48. And that negative 2, I can divide both sides by negative 2, so that just disappears. So I'm left with just x squared minus 14x plus 48. And I can factor this, because I have to ask myself, what two numbers multiply together to give me 48? And when I add them, I get negative 14. That's the 8 and 6 combination. The 8 and 6 combination. So in other words, when x is minus 8 and x is minus 6, that's what it will factor into. Negative 8 and negative 6 makes negative 14, and if I multiply negative 8 and negative 6, I get positive 48, and that's how I know the two factor pairs. And so if I set each factor pair to 0, just set this one to 0 and set this one to 0, solve for x, I just add 8 to both sides. X is 8, and here x is 6. So those are my two x-intercepts. So my coordinate pair is going to be 8, 0 and 6, 0. That's where the graph crosses the x-intercept. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and also 6. Now what I have to do is get my vertex. So that was my x-intercept. The other thing I need is the vertex to get the point where it curves or turns, because this is a quadratic formula, which means it's a parabola, and parabolas always are in a U shape or N shape. So what I have to do is use the formula x equals negative b over 2a. And this will give me the x coordinate of the vertex point. So if I plug that in, let's let this be a, this b, and that's c. I get negative b, so negative 28. The first number, the first coefficient is my a, so 2 times negative a. And I've got negative 28 on top and minus 4 on the bottom, which gives me a positive 7. So x is 7 is the axis of symmetry, that vertical line, x equals 7, axis of symmetry. And also the vertex point is on the axis of symmetry. So now all I have to do is plug 7 into the function. I need to figure out what f of 7 is equal to, because that's going to let me know where the vertex point is. I got to just plug 7 into the function. So my function is f of x equals negative 2x squared plus 28x minus 96. Now if I plug 7 in there, I got negative 2, 7 squared plus 28 times 7 minus 96. So now what is that? Negative 2. 7 squared is 49. 28 times 7, that's 196 minus 96. And by the way, 2 times 48 is 49 is negative 98. So negative 98 plus 196 minus 96. Any way you slice it, you're going to get a positive 2. Wow, that just kind of ran away from me. Let's get the pan tool and move this puppy back over. Positive 2. So in other words, we have it now. When x is 7, y is 2. 7, comma 2 is the vertex point. So on my graph, I go to 7 and then up 2. And that's enough information for me to graph it now. Here we go. It's time to graph it. Here's my vertex point. It does a reversal and comes back down. So you use the parabola tool to make your function. That was a lot of work.